Hey, what's up everybody? BDL 44 coming at you another video. Alright, so Laker preseason starts up next Saturday, man. It is a Monday, so we're not quite close to that. We got a whole week of, and then the following week, and then we got a Saturday coming up. So good 14 days from now, a little more than that, the Lakers will have a game against the Golden State Warriors at Chase Center in San Francisco, California. And note, I just read somewhere on the 15th, I don't know who we're playing, but they've moved the time to 4 p.m. Pacific for that particular game on the 15th. Not the one coming up that I'm talking about on next Saturday, but further down the road on the 15th of October. They switched it up, so we're going to have a 4 p.m. game there. Didn't tell me who we were playing, I didn't check. But training camp should be coming up up this week. I think that's when it starts, if it hasn't begun already. And I just took a glance at the roster just to refresh my memory, and we got one of the deepest teams in all of basketball. I'm just telling y'all right now, it's not a situation where I see us being devoid of talent at any position or having issues with injuries or anything like that, so long as everybody plays up to their potential, especially with the addition of a guy like Christian Wood on top of everything we already had. Yeah, this team is going to be dangerous as it comes. A lot of rumors have been going around about the Lakers in regards to just various players. I saw Mr. 81, shout out Mr. 81, posted something along the lines of the Lakers had a proposed trade. Somebody randomly came up with a proposed trade, as they always do, having it so that we were going to be looking at a guy like DeJounte Murray in Atlanta, and we would be sending Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, and Vanderbilt in the first there, and we'd be getting back that player. Of course, that's not a real trade. It's just something somebody came up with. But understand what I'm saying. No, absolutely not. The only thing I would be willing to break up this team for is a guy like Victor Wembanyama or Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's kind of along the lines of the player they would have to be. Your name would have to have more than 10 letters in it if I'm going to mess up our cap situation. It ain't just about the talent and the depth. It's about how well everything slots together for our future right now. The Lakers have been in a situation where our cap has been bad. We gave away our picks and all kinds of other stuff for Anthony Davis. We had a situation where we didn't have a lot of young talent early on after making the trade for AD, and we finally found ourselves in a position of strength in just about every category. The only thing we don't have is our natural picks, and it shouldn't matter because we have a bunch of young guys that should have developed into what it is we want them to be regardless of that. So even if we wanted to get picks from someone else, we could very easily make a trade to get some first rounders at this point. We don't need to do anything. That's essentially what I'm saying in terms of my opinion. The Lakers don't have to do a dang thing, man. We just got to start the season, get ready, and let everybody's value slot into what it's going to be upon Darvin Ham's decision on playing these guys and health and all of those different things. But as of right now, Lakers shouldn't be looking to do anything at all, because at the end of the day, anything you do could compromise our depth and our pick and our cap situation, and that is ultimately what makes us as valuable of a team as we are right now. There's two sides of what it is you're doing there. You want to make sure that you have the talent in place to compete, and you want to make sure that your cap makes sense so you can keep that talent. And right now we have that. Now, things could change if LeBron James were to go down with an injury, knock on wood. AD goes down with an injury. Now you changes your timeline. Maybe LeBron retires. It completely changes what you're looking at. But I think that's also worked into the equation in regards to the youth on this team and how we can ultimately shift from being a win-now team to a development team without making any trades at all. Guys like Jalen Hood-Schifino, Vanderbilt, Austin Reeves, Max Christie, Max Lewis, all of these guys, they need to develop. Colin Castleton. So if for some reason we're no longer a win-now team because of a season-ending injury or something like that, we could still be cool without making no trades and still keep our timeline intact, still have everything we need to be able to carry forth as a deep team with a superstar led situation. So that's ultimately what it's about. We have all the LeBron James and Anthony Davis insurance in the world. Players that could play different positions, ball handlers, rebounders, shot blockers, scorers, everything you would want to ultimately give yourself an opportunity to have load management for Bron and AD, which we know the NBA has changed some things. We now have clarity in regards to the rule that they've just implemented in place, which is if a guy's been an all-star over the last 3 years, they don't want you resting more than 2 of those guys in one game if they're not injured specifically. Load management. It's the Clipper rule, basically. You ain't gonna be able to rest AD and Bron in the same game, and so that ultimately will kind of shake some things in regards to how we handle our situation. If you guys followed me last year, I covered every single game there was, all 82 plus playoffs, all the way through the Western Conference Finals. I covered all the games, and at the end of the day, we found ourselves managing players and ultimately costing ourselves wins and things of that nature, just because we were trying to load manage our players and ultimately kind of misunderstood, in my humble opinion, the prospects of winning some of those games if some of our guys would have played. A game like we had against the Denver Nuggets in the regular season drove me absolutely crazy that we had load managed both of our players, because we had already beaten the Denver Nuggets with the same roster and the same guys that they were putting on the floor that next day, the next time we saw them. And so these are the type of things that I just think that can help us in regards to how we're handling our situation, when we're less likely to throw games away if the NBA's rule does in fact affect us, which it most definitely will. So that's just an opinion piece. Doesn't necessarily have to translate to anything, but I want to see us compete this year. We have enough to really win something. I don't know, and I'm gonna stay consistent. I don't know that I have the Lakers win the NBA championship this year, but I definitely think we're probably the most deep team in all of basketball, from top to bottom. You just look at the roster. You don't have no scrubs, and the young players that you have, you expect a lot from at some point down the road if they develop properly. Even our two-way guys like Fudge and Demoy Hodge and Colin Castleton. I mean, you look at those dudes and you know they're going to be role players in this league, if not better, so long as we develop them properly. So there's a whole lot of excitement here on this channel in regards to the Lakers. I'm looking at a guy like Christian Wood, and I think we have insurance for his defensive issues. You got Anthony Davis, you got Vanderbilt. Those guys are going to help him with what it is that he ultimately doesn't do very well. You know, obviously LeBron James in place as an older guy. You got your Vanderbilt, you got your Rui Hachimura piece. You have guys that can give him a spell if for some reason he doesn't need to play that particular game. You expect to win the games you're in. And even though we've been talking about, you know, a proposed rumor about a guy like Dejounte Murray playing point guard for you, at the end of the day, man, we just drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino with the 16th overall pick, and I'm not certain he's not going to develop into something very good for us. So at this point, I don't really want to make any moves for a point guard. Obviously, you brought back Austin Reeves on a fantastic contract, arguably the best contract on the planet right now. And, you know, Rui Hachimura signed for about $50 million, which I think he can play up that value quite a bit if he continues on the trajectory he's on. So it's just so much offensive talent, so much defensive talent. A guy like LeBron James should feel really confident that this is a team he can win with. And with us having the chemistry coming back with the training camp, obviously we made an in-season trade midway through the season, bringing in Vanderbilt, bringing in, D'Angelo Russell and others. Now we get a chance to start the season with these guys healthy, you know, and so we're really excited about just ultimately what cohesiveness can be a part of our situation that maybe hasn't been in place for several years. And with us getting to the Western Conference Finals with that dynamic in place, with a rookie coach in place as well, guys being halfway hurt, who knows what our team can look like when everything is in place properly. What I mean by halfway hurt is AD had a foot injury, Bron had a foot injury in the Western Conference Finals. They just were not themselves in that series, and we still had an opportunity to win every single game in that series, even though we lost every single game in that series. Nevertheless, I do believe that our team is better than it was last year in theory. Bringing in a guy like Gabe Vincent, who was in the finals last year with the Miami Heat. Obviously bringing in a guy like Christian Wood with a chip on his shoulder, who we know is only 1 year removed from being impressive. Even though he had a bad year last year, I think that we've seen more than enough from him to know that he's much better than what we saw in Dallas. So Vanderbilt's been paid. Now we feel comfortable about him and his situation, also on a very good contract for us. It's been said that Patrick Beverley told him not to sign that contract. I didn't read why. I don't care why he signed it. We're happy. That's kind of how I'm looking at that. And, you know, I'm really excited about a guy like Max Christie. I saw a lot from him in the Summer League that let me know he was far too good to be in the Summer League. Simply put, he was just killing everybody. His mid-range game was fantastic. He has some fantastic dunk plays. We know he makes his money on the defensive end with his ability to use his length to disrupt people on the wing. I think that Max Christie could potentially be a very, very high-level role player for us, or maybe even better than that. as we continue to implement him into the situation. Y'all know me. Last year I was telling us to play Max Christie. I thought he was our best on-ball defender next to Vanderbilt. He was the guy that I thought could guard some of the guys that ultimately we were having trouble with, and we just didn't want to play him. That should not be the case this year. Not at all. He should be a regular rotation as a back of the, a second unit or third unit guy. And I think he's going to ultimately end up getting real minutes before the end of the season, may even have fantasy value, depending on how things shake out with guys like Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish. Speaking of Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish, you will understand very quickly that both of those guys can help you on both sides of the floor. Taurean Prince is a guy who can very easily average 12 points a game, can stretch the floor a little bit, use his big body to do certain things defensively that can help your team, to be a solid role player. A guy like Gabe Vincent, he said, I was watching his, and I've mentioned this on camera before, but I was watching his interview with JJ Redick. He feels like he was kind of limited in the Miami Heat system based on how specific his role was. He thinks he's more of a point guard, more of a playmaker than he's been able to show in this league. And so I'm excited about him being able to do some things for us as well. D'Angelo Russell, it seems like he's having a good offseason. His boy just turned 1. I really like how they put together that whole card that they had, like a little trading card for his little son, and the whole nine was really, really dope. He's coming in with good energy, ready to get started. The family's excited about being Lakers, and he's also on an affordable, tradable contract. Just all of these different things in the Lakers, situation that ultimately puts us in a position to know that our team is coming in with good energy this year. And I think about LeBron James. He went through something this offseason with his son having the heart situation that it took place. And I just think it gives you a new lease on life when you understand something like that taking place. It puts something different in your mind. I'd imagine it puts something different in your heart in regards to your profession. And I just think he's going to come in with a different type of poise this year than what we've seen. That was different. That it probably shook him. I don't want to put ideas out there that are not the case, but I just think about if I was in his position and something like that happened, I would have a brand new lease on life, and I would definitely not take a single thing for granted. And so I think LeBron James is going to come in year 21, having healed up from the foot. Looks like he's in pretty solid shape. Had a good offseason in regards to that, and I think he's going to come in with a resurgence and probably have a better season than he had last year. Anthony Davis continued on his good workout habits. He looked like he put in some real work this offseason. He looks good. So I'm excited about what he looks like this year. Obviously, with the AD, you expect the same. He's going to have games where he's going to hit the floor and we're all going to gasp. He's going to miss some games with injuries and stuff like that. That's just who he is. But at the end of the day, we also found out who he is on the other side of that. Simply the best defensive player in basketball. Don't think I'm going to waver from that. He's already proven it to me. He's the best defensive player in the league, and he's also the highest paid player in the league, or paid player in the league right now. And so with us having such a commitment to him, I think it's up to him to lead this team. LeBron James is the number 2 on this roster, and I've been saying that for over 3 years at this point. This is AD's team, and he's going to have to lead it. You know what I mean? We're going to look at LeBron James as the leader in terms of historically, but LeBron James is now 38 years of age, going to be 39 in December. We just can't ask for him to carry the load. That's AD's job. And so I'm going to be looking at him to be aggressive, and I'll be looking for Darvin Ham to utilize him in the system that allows him to get more than 7 or 8 attempts up a game. We learned a lot last year about how passive AD can be scoring the ball at times. Even though he's more than capable of getting 50 for you, he's also more than capable of being very comfortable getting 12 for you. And sometimes you end up losing by 12 when that happens. It cannot happen. I want him to be much more aggressive, and it's going to be incumbent upon us to study some of the things that went wrong last year, some of those slow-moving plays, half-court plays that have him doing sweeping hooks that ultimately rim off the rim. But I don't want to see none of that this year. Get him closer to the basket and ultimately put him in positions to have easy buckets. I also want to see him attempt more threes this year, even though it's been understood that his three-point percentage has not been where we need it to be. At the end of the day, he doesn't attempt enough threes to even get him up enough, and his form has always been fantastic. I haven't forgotten that he hit a fall-away 3 in the playoffs with the New Orleans Hornets Pelicans a long time ago. So I don't want to hear nothing about him not shooting enough threes. He needs to be attempting at least 2 a game, in my humble opinion. And, I look at a guy like Christian Wood to make up for that. If for some reason we don't get what we need out of him offensively, we still have plenty of offensive talent that can score the ball. Rui Hachimura is more than capable of scoring. Austin Reeves should be able to step up his scoring this year, having played in, the Summer League and the FIBA Summer League, being one of the key players on the squad. I expect for some of that experience playing with the high-level talent that he did to translate to him having a very good season this year. Hopefully we can have good health out of all of our guys. But we do have some unproven players down there that are going to have to slot in as good role players. They can't have down seasons, can't have, step back and take steps back in regards to their production. A guy like Cam Reddish had a good season with the Portland Trailblazers last year. I'm looking for him to come in and be a hellraiser for us off the bench. Somebody who can defend players at many positions, and of course somebody who's naturally very gifted scoring the ball. Now the issue with him is he's not overly athletic. He's not jumping out the gym dunking on people, so we're gonna have to pick and choose who we ask him to guard and what it is that we ask him to do. But he can hit a corner shot. He's obviously extremely talented. He's tall. He can play about 3 or 4 positions, and he's somebody I've wanted on this team for a very long time. So with the momentum that he's coming in with, I want to see Darvin Ham utilize him to his strengths. And believe it or not, when he came out of college, he was somebody that you thought could play some point guard. So this is somebody who's never, even in college, was never able to actually show what he can do. He had a lesser role in Duke based on the fact they had so many prospects on the squad. Think Devin Booker, same situation. Devin Booker was a bench player in college, ended up turning into being obviously one of the biggest superstars in the world. So these are the type of situations I'm looking at in regards to our team. We just have a lot of guys. A guy like what's his name? Jackson Hayes, coming in from the New Orleans Pelicans. He's been the log jam at the center position. They didn't really believe in his game too much. Didn't really have the complementary pieces to ultimately extenuate what it is that he does well. I think we do. He's going to be a lob threat, and so long as we keep the ball above the rim, he's going to catch it and slam it. One of the most athletic centers in all of the planet. So we're going to love having that kid once we see what he can do, and we're going to have to be patient with him and develop him properly over the next several years to assure that he becomes what it is we want him to be. So that's one thing I'm looking at. A guy like Colin Castleton, even though he's on a two-way, his strength is going to be utilized on this team at some point during the regular season. He's a guy who pushes the ball. He is somebody you definitely know can make plays for others. And even though he has some limitations defensively, I'm not worried about him in regards to him eventually turning into somebody who may be a triple-double threat somewhere down the road. He passes naturally. He takes it off the rim and he dribbles the ball himself, just like LeBron James, just like Rui Hachimura. A lot of our guys can do that. Cam Reddish. We have ball handlers, and we have one at the center position, and I'm super excited about. He will play some G League minutes, no doubt, along with some of those other guys. Demoy Hodge will as well. I don't know that we'll see Fudge this year in the big team, but at the end of the day, this roster is so deep that if we happen to run into some injury issues, it could be a positive in regards to us using some guys who could really do some things that we're not going to ask them to do. So I'm not so sure if a couple injuries don't happen, we don't see a guy like Colin Castleton end up being our starting center before it's over with. I just really think he has that much talent in his bag. Now, as we continue to look forward, a guy like Gabe Vincent, with the experience that he has in the playoffs over the last several years, going deep into the playoffs with the Miami Heat, I look for him to be somewhat of a leader, especially with that second unit. I think of him as somebody we're bringing in to kind of give us a little bit of that Derek Fisher energy. Back when D. Fish was a Laker, we obviously won a lot of championships with him. He was more so an emotional leader, a stabilizer, so to speak, in the presence of a lot of chaos with our stars who were having issues back in the day, getting along, things of that nature. That's the kind of guy I'm hoping Gabe Vincent can kind of be for us. Just continue to be who he's been with the Miami Heat, but a bit more, have a bit more, as we said, room to do what he does, playmaking, and then ultimately just have a little more freedom to be whoever it is that he ultimately is. And we will learn about that player as we go forward. So I'm excited about all of our team, man. The whole thing, it looks great to me. Jalen Hood-Schifino, I don't know where the minutes going to come from in his rookie season necessarily. He's probably going to do a lot of sitting, but this is somebody who I know is going to attack from the mid-range, as we've talked about a lot. He's going to drive at the rim, even though he's not overly athletic. He's going to find ways of getting teardrops up and things of that nature, and he's going to be a guy that I'm going to be looking to make plays for Jackson Hayes, for Christian Wood, and those second units. D'Angelo Russell, as we mentioned already, Has he overcome his callus issue? We've talked a lot about that. They didn't seem to have a solution for that. I'm hoping that he's found those solutions since, because they caused him a lot of trouble. He missed a lot of games because of it, both with us and Minnesota. So if he comes in and is his regular self, we know he's going to have certain games where he's not going to be able to give us, superstar level talent at this point. He's a role player in his career, but we also know how gifted he is. His precision gift is not to be toyed with. His three-point shooting gift is not to be toyed with, and that is somebody who can play multiple positions as well. So I'm fairly optimistic that D'Lo is going to make us proud this season. I really am. I don't know how long he'll be with the Lakers, because if anybody gets traded, it's likely going to be his contract that slots in with most circumstances we would otherwise be interested in. But we're not thinking like that right now. We want to use him probably as our starting point guard, and ultimately have him play off of LeBron James and Austin Reeves fairly well. Now, Austin Reeves is somebody, as a fantasy basketball fan, I'm not sure if this is a breakout year for him, or if this is another one of those years where you just kind of have to accept the fact that he doesn't get as much usage to really be fantasy relevant. But I don't think that makes any difference. He's going to do things that help you win on both sides of the floor, and whether he has fantasy relevance or not, he's going to be obviously one of the most important players on this team in terms of winning. He's going to have to reel it in regards to flopping, though, because the jury's not the jury's out, but the jig is up in regards to his flopping. People know what he does. They know that he's going to be looking to draw fouls on the offensive end, defensive end as well, and so he's just going to have to pick and choose when he decides to do that. And I think he's one of the best in the league at that. Hopefully he continues to get his calls. So we think about all these things when we consider our Los Angeles Lakers, but the one thing that really concerns me above all else is Darvin Ham's rotations. I cussed into this phone more than half of the season throughout the course of following each and every game, because a lot of the rotation decisions that he made did not make a whole lot of sense to me. But throughout the course of the season, at the end of the day, we got to the Western Conference Finals, and it was a lot of what he did right that ultimately led us to that circumstance. I love how he coached the Memphis series. I was very pleased at ultimately how he coached the first series as well against, God, I don't remember how did that set up? I don't even remember. But he definitely did good things in the playoffs as we played the Memphis Grizzlies, the Denver Nuggets, and who was it? The Golden State Warriors. I thought he did a fantastic job in that Warriors series. Everybody was picking the Warriors to beat us, and we ultimately knocked them off because they did not have enough to go up against our depth and the various different circumstances that were in place that Darvin Ham implemented with his rotations. So I was pleased with that, and I think that we're going to see improvement from Darvin, but I would caution a guy like Christian Wood, caution a guy like Jackson Hayes to understand that he loves small ball. Simply put, he wants small ball. He comes from a small ball era with Budenholzer in Milwaukee, and he's going to have circumstances where he's going to put people on the floor at positions that you're not going to like. And so that if I have any concern about our Lakers, it's that we have a team that's constructed correctly, but we have a coach that likes to do things unorthodox in regards to that, and it will leave us absolutely unhappy about it. And so I'm poised to be more so unhappy this year. Even though the roster's a bit bigger, he's still going to find a way to play Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves at the center and power forward position. And even though I'm joking, I'm actually not. I'm joking, but he's going to do stuff like that. So we better be careful to be patient, I guess is the word. Be patient with Darvin Ham, because he's proven in his first year that he can get his team to the Western Conference Finals. And not everything is as macro as can we match up properly tonight. It's more so about can we keep everybody healthy throughout the course of the season. And while guys are not on the floor, they are healthy, is essentially how we have to look at that. So, man, Darvin, please, you know how I am, bro. I will cuss every night, bro. I'm telling you, this is not a minor thing. We went through this all last season. Them rotations used to drive me absolutely mad, man. They really did. And so that's what concerns me about this team. Not necessarily I want to remove the coach and bring in somebody more traditional, none of that. He's proven. So the results were proven. We got to the Western Conference Finals, period. But at the end of the day, we got a lot of young talent at that front court position, and we can't be affording ourselves to lose confidence because we don't want to play them because they're just simply too tall. Okay, you know my philosophy for basketball. Basketball goes up to the highest point. You want to be taller to get the easiest buckets. but we tend to not do that, and we get out rebounded, etc., etc. It drives us absolutely mad, man. So please, when AD sits down, do not hesitate to play Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, Colin Castleton. I really believe it'll make us a much better team if we use those players. Obviously, you can slot Vanderbilt around at various positions, so it shouldn't be an issue using Vanderbilt even if you want to go small. Rui Hachimura, same thing. Those guys are going to very much help us in small ball lineups if we want to. A guy like Cam Reddish should be good in a small ball lineup. So like I said, most of the players that we have on this team are tall. There's only one guy that's like 6'2", and his name is Gabe Vincent. Everybody else is above 6'6", which is extremely positive, I guess is the word I want to use. I like that very much, and I think the GM for putting together a roster that has so much size attached to it, bringing the Jalen Hood-Schifino at like 6'6" and still growing at the point guard position, that is a fantastic thing. So I hear a guy like Vanderbilt has grown to 6'10", if I'm not mistaken, from like 6'8" to 6'10" over the summer. That's extremely exciting as well, given the fact that he can guard point guards and things of that nature. So this team is overly versatile, man. When I say overly versatile, you can pretty much do anything you want with the roster. But the problem is, guys are going to have to be patient with the fact that they're just not going to play as much because of it. A guy like Max Christie, I don't know what his minutes going to look like. Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, all of them. Torian Prince. Some of these guys are going to be spending their nights on the bench, and they're going to be more than capable of doing things to help us. But we also understand that injuries do take place, and throughout the course of an 81-game season, because it ain't 82 anymore with the in-season tournament now in place, removing a game from everybody's schedule unless you win it, as to which it adds a game to your schedule. Either way, we know that it's going to be a long season regardless, and throughout the course of a season you're going to see different things. So when we talk about who's starting when is the question I asked you. I don't put much emphasis on starters because at the end of the day, your starting lineup is going to switch up a lot. You're going to see a guy at the beginning of the season, you may see a certain lineup. By the end of the season, it's a totally different lineup. But that's just what it is. It's more so about matchups, and two, who finishes these games. Who is coach going to trust at the end of the game? Who's going to be our go-to guy in winning situations? Are we going to ask our stars to shoot the ball, or are we going to have other opportunities to maybe run some plays to give them misdirection and play off of those guys in such a way that, kind of sends teams the other direction? So, rebounding is important to me, man, and I know size helps with that. Obviously, we know small ball lineups, you can rebound well too, depending on how long these shots are. As long as you position yourself properly, you can rebound the ball well in small ball lineups. But at the end of the day, I believe height equates to rim protection and rebounding, and I just really, really, really don't want to be frustrated this year when it comes to that, man. That's my thing. Darvin, please, bro, please don't drive us crazy with this. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm excited about the Los Angeles Lakers. We're only 2 weeks away from our first preseason game, and with the roster looking as it is, I don't know if too many teams are going to be able to match up with our depth, man. I really don't. And because we have such height down there, even if we do run small ball, it should translate to us being taller than we ever would have been last season, especially at the beginning of the season with guys like Patrick Beverly and several other players as well that I don't even want to talk about. But at the end of the day, that's how it goes, man. We got through that. Last season was not the greatest season for us, and it still ended on an extremely high note. And I hope that we can duplicate that success or even extend ourselves to the finals, because really, with LeBron James in year 21, we ain't got too many more times to be falling short on his behalf. We got to get a championship. So the Western Conference is deep. As I told you on the Dallas Maverick video, and as I've said a million times this offseason, it ain't really about your record. You just have to make it in the top 10. It doesn't matter how you slot in at the top 10, just that you get there. Once you get there, anything can happen. We saw what the Miami Heat went through. Ask Gabe Vincent. They were not a good team throughout the regular season, well below 500 all the way to the end, and lost their first play-in tournament game, if I'm not mistaken. But at the end of the day, they still found themselves in the finals, and it was because they stayed resilient and because they stayed together and ultimately leaned on their stars and their principles. And, of course, their great coaching. So, I'm expecting some leadership there. I'm expecting for us to gather it up. in regards to our coaching situation. This is year 2 for Darvin Ham, coming off a successful season. I expect to see some improvement in certain areas, key areas, particularly timeout calling and using your challenges. He didn't use those very well last year. I'm expecting to see some improvement there. Hopefully we've expanded our coaching situation in regards to our assistant coaches so that we have people doing specific things that can kind of assist him with that. That was one of my criticisms of us last year. We just didn't have enough of a coaching staff, in my opinion, to cover all the stuff that was necessary to cover. So, it's going to be key for the Lakers to not look at the success that we had in the playoffs as a means of us saying we're good in certain areas that we really did need improvement on. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. That's very important to me. But ultimately, this is a team that I'm excited about, man. We finally brought in some guys that I was really, really hoping we can get years ago, particularly Cam Reddish. I've been wanting him on this team since basically the beginning. And now he's finally here, so we definitely want to welcome him here. Jackson Hayes is a player that I think is going to help us a lot. Christian Wood, if he can bounce back from last year and have a chip on his shoulder, play a little bit like he did in Denver, Detroit, and Houston, you got yourself a heck of a player who can score the ball anywhere. 3-point shooting, he's fantastic. Mid-range shooting, he's fantastic. Inside, double hand dunks, you know what to get from him. And he's from Long Beach, so he should take a little bit of pride in putting on this purple and gold. Although it doesn't always go well for certain people, we ain't gonna mention them. But it is what it is. We know what time it is with the LA Lakers. We're going after the NBA championship. And while I don't know that we are going to capture it, I definitely don't expect for us to fall too far short of it. We're only moving up from here. And so I want us to use Max Christie as a very important piece because of his talent on the defensive end, coupled with his jump and where his skill set is. His mid-range shot, he ain't missed much of anything in the summer league, as I've already said. So I don't know how we're going to slot him in with players like Gabe Vincent and, Taurean Prince to play and things like that. But I guarantee you, he's going to earn his spot. His mechanics are where they need to be. And that's somebody who can guard it, just about anybody at the 1, 2, or 3. Especially as he's continuing to put on weight. He had a fantastic offseason in regards to that as well. So I'm telling y'all, that's somebody I want to see in rotation, man. And I hope that we're able to slot him in somehow. Also, a guy by the name of D'Moi Hodge, catch and shoot guy. He's arguably one of the best catch and shoot players on our team, even though he's a two-way guy. He did have some moments in the summer league where he kind of fell off in a major way, so there's a lot of development to do with the Rook. But I'm telling you, he is a defensive guy. He reminds me of, and I'm going to say this, a poor man's Cason Wallace. And we know of Cason Wallace with the OKC Thunder, fantastic catch and shoot guy, lockdown defender at the point guard position. He reminds me of Cason. Or also another guy that comes to mind, Tariq Whitehead. So a rookie over there in Brooklyn, I believe he went to. Fantastic catch and shoot player. D'Moi Hodge is a combination of those two guys. And I'm really excited about this particular two-way prospect. So if for some reason we have a bunch of injuries and things of that nature, do not be certain that we don't have a secret weapon in that player. So that's what I'm telling y'all. We got depth galore. This team is not to be toyed with, even if injuries take place. Because you're going to end up finding out that some of the dudes behind some of the guys that we're going to use may be a little more naturally talented than the dudes we're actually looking at with names. It just is what it is, man. And when you study these guys long enough and closely as I did in the offseason, you know it. And you won't be surprised when they succeed. So that's what I like about this Los Angeles Lakers team. We have taken our player development seriously. We've been talking about that for about 4 years now. Can we get some young talent down here so that if LeBron James and AD are not available, we're still excited about ourselves? Guys that we can turn into something and ultimately package together for a Giannis, package together for some type of big star. I think we have that. We just got to put these players in positions to succeed and continue to take our cap situation seriously. And I think that Rob Pelinka, our general manager, has done about as good a job as anybody has this offseason in fixing our situation and ultimately taking advantage of the LA locale and the Laker brand, which ultimately attracts some of everybody. So we're in position of power now, LA. We're coming off a successful season, and our team's even better than it was last year. And we have our guys that we want to keep on contracts for multiple years. It is time to rock, man. It ain't no excuses. Ain't nothing else to say about it. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.